The one story you will never hear Mitt Romney talk about is the one that the president and vice president are only too happy to discuss: Bain Capital and the outsourcing of American jobs.
When they were asked about it, some of his advisors explained, no, there's a difference between offshoring and outsourcing. Those workers who lost their jobs, they didn't understand the difference.
Today was no different, with both the vice president and the president taking turns to hit Romney where it hurts on the outsourcing of jobs at Bain Capital. Meanwhile, Mr. Romney rambled through his usual stump speech, but still has nothing to say about repeated analysis in the Washington Post, the New York Times and the Boston Globe that show how Bain made money even when companies went bust and was skilled at shipping American jobs to South Asia and the Far East. Given Mitt Romney's claim that his business experience is his best qualification for president, this has also become a perfect issue for the president's team. Because while there may be differing views about the value of private equity, there's generally only one on the subject of outsourcing.
You got to give Mitt Romney credit. He's a job creator in Singapore, China, India. He's been very good at creating jobs overseas.
Back with us are Eugene Robinson, David Korn and Jared Bernstein. David, Romney appears increasingly to have a resume and a history that he can't talk about. He can't discuss his role as governor because he introduced a healthcare mandate. He won't talk about his Mormonism because many Republicans see that religion as a cult. Now he can't talk about Bain because Bain shipped jobs overseas. Does this explain why he prefers to talk about cheesy grits and the height of trees?
Well, I understand he's going to give a 3-hour speech on the Utah Olympics in a couple of days from now. You know, he has a hard time with Bain because Bain is his calling card. He doesn't talk about the governor tenure because of the individual mandate, as you noted, and he says that he understands the economy, he understands how to create jobs. His only reason for really saying that is his experience at Bain. I think the president has been very effective, perhaps more so than his surrogates, in pointing out that as president, your job is not to maximize profits, but to maximize the good for the entire community. And that takes into account jobs and education, investment, and everything else. And I think that the inside the Beltway strategists and consultants who have poo-pooed the Obama campaign's attack on Bain are wrong. And this is going to stick over the long run, and it's going to make people, independent voters, question whether Mitt Romney is a man who shares their values and actually knows how to make the economy work for all, rather than for guys who walk around with dollar bills sticking out of their $500 suits.
Yes. Jared, Romney's team says there is a huge difference between offshoring and outsourcing. But you're an economist. Is that a semantic difference? And is that semantic difference going to mean anything to people who lost their jobs as a result of Bain's activities?
To the latter part of your question, of course not. My former boss, the vice president, nailed it in that quote. And there is a difference between those two words, and I can go through it if you want, but it's not what the campaign is saying it is.
No, but Jared, it is. But Jared, isn't the difference that the jobs went, as it were outsourced? But as far as his own assets are concerned, they're offshore in Swiss bank accounts.
They did what's called offshoring, which means that they supported companies sending jobs abroad. They're calling it outsourcing, which is something different. That could be a domestic job. So once you send a job abroad, it's offshoring, and that whole tangled sentence doesn't make sense to anybody. So let's not worry about that. I mean, here's the thing, just kind of riffing off where David was coming from. What are the two of the biggest problems facing the American economy, particularly the middle class, are lack of adequate job availability and the strikingly high levels of income inequality. And when you think about the Bain Capital experience and the fact that Romney himself brought that to the campaign, brought that as part of his economic identity, that's what you think of when you think of private equity, exacerbating high levels of economic inequality, and certainly not about job creation. I mean, if it's profitable to shed jobs, they'll shed jobs. If it's profitable to add jobs, they'll add jobs. This is not a condemnation of the private equity model for private business, but it's a direct linkage to the problems of economic inequality and job creation.
Right. Eugene, Mitt Romney's son, Tag, reportedly told reporters reporters in Davenport, Iowa, and I'm quoting him, "You'll see us hit back pretty hard. We're biding our time." What are they biding their time for, Eugene? You've said in your column today and repeatedly, we're waiting for some content from this man.
Well, we're waiting. We're still waiting. I mean, you know, they can't bide their time all the way to the election, but maybe they're waiting for us to get onto a topic that they really want to talk about. You know, I thought it was Bain, but the central problem there is that he wants to portray himself as someone who is in business to create jobs, when in fact private equity is in business to create wealth, and that's not. You know, if you work for Mitt Romney, would you rather be the subordinate who came in and told him, you know, I hired 500 people today, or the one who came in and said, I fired 500 people today and saved you a lot of money? I think you'd rather be the latter. And that's the substantive problem that he has with trying to talk about Bain. So maybe they're going to prefer to bide their time all the way to November. I don't know.
Wow. Well, we should be watching and waiting, that's for certain. Jared, you wanted to butt in.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the strategy is actually pretty simple. It's don't say anything, don't put your head up, and just, you know, bank on the economy kind of going along in such a way as you can say, you know, get rid of that guy, try me.
But Jared, I thought this was the country. But Jared, I thought this was a country of grand vision, of optimism, of expectation, of giving us a vision of where we can go.
When you think about that, when you think about the depth of the challenges and problems we face, that's where you see just how bereft that strategy is.
Corn, is that not the country we live in?
This is all about being the nondescript alternative to Barack Obama. And I can't think of anybody better to be the nondescript alternative to Barack Obama than Mitt Romney. The Republican Party has nailed it.
Absolutely. Well done, Republicans. Eugene Robinson, David Corn and Jared Bernstein, so many thanks to all of you. Thank you, gentlemen.